My name is Eric Young. I'm the program director at Sweetbriar Nature Center. Since the virus has become a big issue here on Long Island, I have self-quarantined myself, and the beautiful nature center I work at is closed for now. So I thought I would share some of my writings with you. So I'm going to share my book that I wrote about 10 years ago. It's called The Rainbow Almond Tree. And I'd like to read the dedication because I think it says it all. Educating children about the natural world has been my life for the past 30 years or more. I owe much of my passion for nature to my dad, Henry. He watched nature shows with me, took me on walks in the New York metropolitan area, and brought me to see some of the national parks when I was in elementary school. The sheer beauty and majesty of Grand Canyon and Yosemite changed my life forever. A few years back, my coworkers got me to go to Costa Rica to see the rainforest there. I had taught about them and was already awed by their endless diversity. The trip went beyond my expectations, especially a hike to the 900-year-old almond tree deep in the endless greenery of one particular tract of tropical rainforest. This book was inspired by that trip, that tree, and the wondrous living things I experienced. This book is mainly dedicated to my dad, Henry Young, but also to my friends and colleagues who have helped me on my journey. The Rainbow Almond Tree by yours truly. The almond tree had stood there for 900 years, high atop a hill in the Costa Rican rainforest. Its roots stretched out in all directions to hold up this enormous tree. It would take over 20 men stretched out, hand in hand, to reach around the entire trunk. The tree rose toward the sky, taller than the largest whale was long. Caves appeared in between the roots, hollowed out by years of wear and tear. Vines wound their way upward in all directions. Many plants, called air plants, grew all over the tree's trunks and branches. In amongst the air plants, vines, branches, and roots of the tree, all sorts of wondrous creatures dwelled. There were snakes slithering along the vines, bats hanging in the caves, frogs clinging to the leaves, and many more creatures clinging, climbing, swinging, and hanging all about. Our gloriously colorful animal lived near the very top of the tree. The animal was a bird, the great green macaw. The macaw and his ancestors had made a home in the tree for as long as the tree had existed. The seed of the almond tree was no doubt planted by the greatest ancestor of our macaw. In the early morning, the rainforest was blanketed in shadow. The insects hummed. The frogs chirped. The bats clicked. And loudest of them all, the howler monkeys howled. The macaw was awakened by the blazing tropical sun. It was time to begin the business of the day. That meant taking his beak and cleaning and preening his feathers. After much fussing, it was time to visit his favorite air plant, a bromeliad with a bowl-shaped center. The macaw's wings opened up, displaying his beautiful green wing feathers. He took off and glided to the bromeliad some 100 feet below. There he began the pleasure of soaking himself with the water that was collected in the bowl of the bromeliad. Other macaws joined in at nearby bromeliads. They squawked and squawked at each other in delight. Some others perched on branches, surrounding their flockmates, keeping watch for predators. After finishing their baths, it was time to gather for a delicious almond nut breakfast. One, then two, then a bunch more flew upward, coming together in a sea of color. Our macaw landed with others on a branch covered with almonds. Grasping it in all four toes, he pulled it off the branch. Reaching down with a beak strong enough to crack open the shell, he bit. The shell cracked. Some of the seeds would fall to the ground somewhere. If things went right, it might someday sprout into a new almond tree. The macaw used its tongue to pull out the rest of the almond nut within. Just as he swallowed the nut, another sound broke the peace. A loud sound, an unnatural sound, reached his ears. The noise was followed by the sound of a tree falling. The noise came closer as the sun crossed the sky. He and other macaws were afraid. The great green macaw took off to find out just what was going on. The other macaws took off in the opposite direction. They followed the river upstream. The young macaw was by himself. He flew through the canopy of the rainforest. Soon he came to the cause of the noise. The loud noise was being made by two-legged creatures with some kind of sharp thing for cutting. To the macaw, it looked like a beak. It was large and cut right through the trees. Trees were crashing all around him. All kinds of animals scurried, flitted, jumped, hopped, fluttered, and flew, trying to get away from the noisy tree cutters and the destruction of their homes. The macaw just wanted to fly back to the almond tree. He turned around and headed home. When he got back, not another macaw could be seen. The noise was growing closer. He did not know what to do. Soon the tree cutters would reach the almond tree. The macaw decided then and there would fly after the other macaws and spread the word about what was happening to the almond tree. He flew along the river where he found two of his fellow macaws. With much squawking, bobbing, and flapping, the other macaws learned of the tree cutters and the danger to their almond tree. The two great green macaws flew off to tell others. Our younger macaw returned to the almond tree. It was not too long after that another macaw returned, and then another and another. They all perched on the almond tree. Darkness came, and the noises of the tree cutters stopped. As morning arrived, the light of the sun made its way down through the canopy. By this time, 500 macaws were perched on the tree. Soon, two local children out looking for almonds came upon the tree. They saw all the macaws perched all over the almond tree. More were joining all the time. The children could not believe the beauty of the macaws spread in and around the tree. The sounds of the tree cutters started up again. They were getting closer. As the sun hit the highest point in the sky, there were over 1,000 macaws in the tree. Now other birds had joined them. Parrots, parakeets, quetzals, birds of paradise, trogons, kiskadees, and many more could be seen up and down and all around the tree. The two children returned, but this time with many others from their village. All the people stared at the sight of the thousands of colorful birds before their eyes. They could not move away from its beauty. The young macaw flew all around, telling the other birds they must stay until the noise stopped. The birds called in each of their unique songs in agreement with the great green macaw, but they could barely be heard over the sounds of the tree cutters. The sun set again, and once again the noise stopped. The birds rested through the night with nothing to disturb them. As the sun rose the next morning, there were so many birds that the almond tree was completely hidden. Hummingbirds, gnatcatchers, flycatchers, toucans, tanagers, orioles, and other songbirds had joined in. But now people of all sorts surrounded the tree. The noise started again. By mid-morning, the tree cutters had reached the crowd of people at the almond tree. They stopped the noise. The macaw watched from a high branch as the people around the tree argued with the tree cutters. As time went on, more people came to look upon the wondrous sight of the almond tree and the several thousand colorful birds all over its branches. The macaw flew down to a banana tree and alighted in the understory. He began to squawk with joy. The tree cutters seemed to be leaving. Over the next 2 days, there were no more noises from the tree cutters. More and more people from all over came to marvel at the Rainbow Almond Tree. This was the name the two children had given the tree. The birds soon began to leave, but the people still came. Even after all the visiting birds had gone, they came to see the 900-year-old almond tree and the beautiful troop of macaws that lived in its branches and ate its almonds. If the people care enough, the tree cutters won't return. The end.